because I'm familiar with it, right? If I have a lady who needs a car, right, and she needs a car to get to work, and I'm trying to sell her a car, but I can't. Like that lady still needs a car, right? She may not have been able to buy it from me for whatever reason, but that lady like still needs to figure out whatever she has to do to get a car. So she might have started out her journey looking to support a black man to sell her a car, find somebody that she likes, and through her process, she may realize, well, goddamn, she might need to go buy from anybody who sells her a car. That might be her reality, even though she set out to do all these other particular things, right? So what I'm saying is, at some point in time, that lady got to a point in her mission where what she was trying to accomplish became far more important than how she went about it. You get what I'm saying? Like that level of desperation had to throw out, oh, I need to be a black salesperson. Oh, I need to be a black dealership. Or no, now I need a car so I can get to work. You get what I'm saying? So once you have overly emphasized this particular paradigm, you kind of lose access to any other because you're trying to satisfy this one in particular. So what I'm ultimately getting at is us today, with us having all this ability to look up data, use all these other different things to box ourselves into a paradigm that one, we didn't create, and two, is like 50 years old, and three, does not have a proven track record. I think that we would be doing whatever you're trying to accomplish a disservice at some point. Go ahead. What do you feel about that?
I think I understand what you're saying. I'm wrestling with it. I'm trying to interpret the metaphor that you used and pull out the principles of what you're saying. So you from what I'm gathering, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying at a certain point we attempt to try to use or go to one perspective or idea or framework, and that framework doesn't work for us. So from our sheer desperation of needing to fulfill what we need or understand something, we have to open ourselves up to other frameworks beyond what we prefer. Am I getting
Absolutely.
okay?
That I think that's a core part of what I'm saying. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In maybe in another way I would say is if you are desperate, how do you make an exception for it has to be this particular way, but I'm desperate. You get what
Okay.
I'm saying?
So now help me to land it to our conversation that we were having so I can make the connections.
So yeah, so we were talking about Frances Cress Welsing and her having redeemable qualities
Okay.
and how we could use or discard whatever she said moving forward. Right. So I'm seeing that when I restrict what it okay, I'm looking at two possible scenarios here. I'm looking at gathering as much of this particular type of information,
Mhm.
right? Francis Press Wilson, Naeem Akbar, you name it, right? I'm looking at that and I'm imagining a scenario where you go through your trial and error period, but your trial and error period is now saturated with this noise around it. And I'm
Okay.
calling it noise. I'm calling it noise because it's not coming from you. You're not the originator of these paradigms. They are. So
Hmm.
you take their paradigms into your experience, right? And you're trying to go through your experience, imagining how things fit their paradigm, right? So when I'm saying the other scenario would be you having a goal going through that trial and error period and developing your own paradigm of
Right.
what to do with this particular information. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. I think I land right there where you're positioning, if I'm understanding you correct, that yes, um, I'm not going to use that metaphor because it just got posted this morning, so I won't say that. But there's certain, I think you're right. Not only do I think you're right, I agree with you that we study certain things in certain perspectives. Let's say we look at the Black radical tradition around mental health and psychology, or we look at Black sociologists' perspectives and that conventional ideas and framework that they put forth in the 60s and the 70s. We will study a lot of some of these scholars of that time, let's say Andrew Billingsley, E. Franklin Fraser, and we get their conceptual idea of what it means to be Black, families, our race, the concept of our existence in this political economy. And if we stay stuck and only use that frame of reference to interpret and make sense of the world around us, it may give us a good interpretation of what's going on. It may provide us a lens to be able to interpret our current family situation. If we look at the exchange that just happened, our current economic situation, but it may not provide us everything that we need to really interpret our experience with like home ownership, being able to work with a bank, being able to understand our relationship with banking institutions, because we're using a framework that, for one, didn't give us the gravity to be able to understand our unique experience in that way, but it limits us with being able to interpret what's really happening between me as a Black man and my family and this relationship to this bank. And I'm just using that because that came up earlier. So it becomes a disservice if we, according to how you're explaining it, it becomes a disservice if we stay locked into that noise only. What what helps us is to be able to explore ideas and concepts. Assalamu alaikum, sir. To be able to explore concepts and ideas and frameworks that go beyond what we understand. You know, we have to put ourselves in situations where we are learning, where we're ignorant about something, where we're willing to ask curious questions to be able to go beyond limitations of frameworks. The reality is that, yes, when we study some Afrocentric, African centered perspectives, it does have its limitations. It does. There is a certain type of framework or lexicon that within that doesn't entirely explain the phenomenon of who we are and around us today. Now, I'm saying that as a person who tends to subscribe to a lot of this stuff because I try not to limit myself and box myself into that perspective alone. But it does provide a good compass for me to be able to interpret the world around me. But there's still some limitations. I've read through, let me give you an example. I read through the Blueprint for Black Power with Amos Wilson. It took me almost like a year and a half. And I put it down, picked it back up, put it down, picked it back up. I think it provided me a really good understanding of imperialism, institution building, understanding the role of the family, the Black family, and the broader political realities of America. I think it gave me a good understanding of globalization to a degree, but it had its limitations. There's certain things that I just did not get an understanding of. And that's because Amos Wilson isn't necessarily a political scientist, even though he has some, if you call it noise, he has some ideas and thoughts on political science, but he's not a political scientist. And so if I'm trying to understand my relationship with this current government, how politics works and my relationship to politics, how to and influence the political reality around me, it might not necessarily come entirely from Amos Wilson's blueprint for Black Power, even though he may have some good things to offer on the table around that. And so I'm joining you in that perspective and saying that, yes, you know, if it doesn't serve us, if I can't buy that car, if that woman can't buy that car from you, she may have to, out of sheer necessity, to fulfill the needs and the desires of her circumstances and change her predicament, she has to go somewhere else to get that car. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the car that you're serving is obsolete, wrong, and we have to just cancel it and throw it out the window. Does that make sense? Am I aligning with
It,
what you're
it,
saying.
it does, but it does. But I think the reality is it doesn't matter how bad she wants that car, she can't get it.
Right.
It doesn't matter how bad I want to sell it to her, I can't sell it to her.
Okay.
You get what I'm so like so you know at some point it's not necessarily about the affinity. It's got to be more about the goal. So the prestige of where it comes from isn't really there, right? The
Mhm.
prestige it comes from the results that you see when you apply it, because you might take something and in your specific scenario it may not work, and then you know what I'm saying, you try something else and it does. So to you, which one was more important? The one that you have affinity for it didn't work, or the one that worked? Like again, the trial and error period is what the real stimulation is, right? Like that's where I can take it and actually, right? Like that to me, that is a potential hang up for a lot of people who kind of see it in this way, where they put um they put this reverence so high on their list of things to do. You know what I'm saying? Is it almost starts to work against what they're trying to do. You get what I'm saying? Like in the wake of trying to appease this person that I've never met, I'm also possibly um, taking on some of their ideology and missing out on opportunity. You get what I'm saying?
I think so. I think so. I think, and your phone was cutting out just a little bit. I think one of the things that I want to elevate from what you said is it depends on what your goals are. And I think that's the critical point. And everybody has different goals. Everybody have different objectives of what they're trying to accomplish. And say, you're right. I think from those goals, we could kind of evaluate and measure whether or not a certain school of thought works for us. Um, to make it more home and practical to me, I'm a family scientist, a family life education. What is that? It's almost synonymous to a psychologist, and I study human behaviors and human practices from the perspectives of family systems and family units. I understand families in a societal perspective, and I understand the trends and the histories of families. My particular focus with that discipline is looking at Black families. That's my particular focus. My goals is to help build and restructure and heal the Black family in America. And so my goal allows me to take into consideration some of these various ideas and schools of thoughts and make it make sense in how I create workshops, educational curriculum, and coaching practices for Black mothers and Black fathers. And so I can consider these wide range of schools of thoughts and make it applicable to my practice and what I do because that's my goal. My goal orientates me for that. It all depends on what our goals are. It's just, and so if our goals is specifically on a certain thing that says we have to make that obsolete, then it becomes obsolete to you. I think the piece that me and you was talking about, that to bring that praxis into that is, is understanding how do we evaluate for ourselves the vitality and I'm gonna say the efficacy of someone's thinking and someone's frame of thought. I don't recommend anybody boxing themselves in to try to fulfill the goal or what they imagine is the vision of this ancestor or this person who they've read from who's no longer here, to try to fit within their context or their frame of reference in their day-to-day life today. I think that's the opposite. It's actually the inverse. You take what they left behind in their literature, in their material, and their principles that they've hopefully practiced in their life, and you see how it fits in your life. You try to apply it in your life, and if it don't work, you discard it. Cressing's black male sexuality piece and her theory around that, it was bunk to me. I didn't agree with it. There was some principles around it that I read from other people of that time and even afterwards, and I'm saying, yeah, she got that one wrong, and that's okay for me to say that. That's okay. I
Mhm.
can critique her and love on her in that critique and say, if I had an opportunity to meet her, I would ask her about this and to see if she can expound on it. And if she would have said the same thing, I would have probably just shook her hand, loved on her, and said, "Yeah, I probably don't. That don't apply to me or the work that I do," and leave it at that. And if there's some other pieces that she would have said that I do agree on, that's what I continue to bring into my noise, if I can use your word, because I like that in the way that you said that, bring it into my noise, my echo chamber of noise, and use that for the work that I do. But it all becomes centered on, if I use what you said again, the goals. What is my goal? My goal is to make sure that Black families, particularly fathers and mothers, have what they need to raise healthy children, to be committed to who they are, to be strong, to break chains and intergenerational patterns that create pathologies within us, to create healthy citizens within this country, and to be able to have some collective identity of who they people are. That's my goal. And so there's a lot of schools of thoughts and conventional wisdom that I've got from Black scholars and white scholars that help me align to that particular goal that I'm trying to attain. I'm hoping I'm making sense, and I'm hoping I'm making this connect to what you're
Hey,
saying, because I like what you're
you're making
putting
sense.
down.
And when I use the word noise in reference to some articles that I was reading in terms of the brain and how they would reference some of the other possible things that could be influencing you outside of you originating that thing,
Mhm.
call it noise. So I'm just using it the way that they used it, right? I wasn't trying to say, as if it's just background music or some shit like that. I wasn't doing that, but
Gotcha.
I could see, yeah, that's what I meant when I said that. So so we can agree that you get to the point where everything goes once you're trying to do whatever you're trying to do. I get that, right? Now, yesterday, man, I wish we hadn't got interrupted yesterday because we was on a roll, right? We had got to the part where we were talking about Francis Cress Welsing, and you were discussing. Matter of fact, I remember you asked Chef. You was like, you made a comment that assumed that she had some redeemable qualities, and then we at the moment I think you might have been in the middle of something and wasn't really able to expound on what you meant by that, right? So that's part of where I struggle, and I struggle with running through the scenarios of what is useful from a lot of these talking points, right? Like, and what is useful from them is stuff that was useful from them because they told us they hid this, right?
Hmm.
So they kind of made themselves the keeper of this particular thing that I could have just went to the library and gotten for myself. So when I go beyond what they've given us that we can go to the library, I kind of run into more gobbledygook than anything. And I think that's unfortunate, but I think that that's an uncomfortable truth that I got to recognize when I'm looking at this, right? Because I can't go off the page. I mean, at least once I go off the page of academia, that's where all the Pan Africanism kicks in, right? Because everything before that isn't, that's just academia doing this thing. Everything that they've added on top of that is the stuff that we would either be discussing to either keep or discard. You follow what I'm saying?
I think so. Um,
So 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 once we've filtered out the stuff that they said that we can go retrieve from academia, from the stuff that they added to what they got from academia, I don't arrive at very much to keep for me. How do you feel about that?
So you're saying that when you study some of these people's works and like Cressing or anybody else that you bring on the table, and you try to investigate it from an academic or a scholastic perspective, you there's some things that you can get that you say it doesn't. I think I'm understanding you. It doesn't necessarily have to come in the way that they're saying it because it doesn't have any empirical support behind it. And once you subtract the scholastic method or rigor from it, you're saying a lot of times you only see is just what you call Pan-African mess that doesn't have scholarship to support it. I hope am I getting it right? Am I understanding you
Yeah,
correctly?
yeah. The parts in which they've deviated from academia,
Hmm.
right? Which would be the stuff that you would say is their original contribution to the
Hmm.
conversation is all stuff that, well, I ain't gonna say all, but a lot of that stuff is, not necessarily like useful like that because it's not true. It's
Yeah.
either not true or it's laced in racism. So unless I'm going to hinge my behavior based on racism. That's all I can do. What's up, Dave?
It's a challenge. And I hear what you're saying on that, and I hope that I'm understanding correctly. Like, if we spin it around the video that you uploaded and that we watched, and I'm glad you told me to just keep watching because continued to watch it and I realized, oh, they didn't upload the whole thing. The panel discussion with Dr. Naeem Akbar and Dr. Wade Nobles, and I think they're a good piece to bring into that in terms of the point that you're making is that it's difficult to read, interpret, and understand some of the works of these scholars because one of the things that they did in their work is try to break off from models that they deemed was Eurocentric or Western in terms of its method on how to treat or diagnose or analyze the Black experience. And so while they tried to stay within the conventional framework of scientific methods, like in particular them case, and they was talking about the Association for Black Psychology. If you know the history of ABPsi, one of the critical reasons that they came into existence was to challenge, break off, and challenge the American Psychological Association. I believe it was in 1962, 68. Somebody fact check me for I can't remember what year it was. And the principal pieces behind what they wanted to do was introduce new scientific models to explain and define and interpret the experience of the Black person, the Black man, the Black woman, the Black family, and the Black population in America. And so it's somewhat complex. I'm sorry, I'm getting messages from my son. He's trying to get on this field trip. It's complex because while they attempted to use the scientific method to continue to produce literature and re-examine the Black experience, they also attempted to try to reach in and grab um, conventional wisdoms, conventional wisdoms, damn it, conventional wisdoms from the continent, from the foundational realities of Black folks here. And so some of it did fringe beyond the I would say the what you're saying, the framework of scholarship. But they tried to do it in a way, the process of scholarship. That's why when Naeem Akbar was saying on that piece, she said, how do you say, African psychology is a process. It's not just a thing. It's not just a set of ideas. It's a process of being able to reinterpret the psychological and sociological makeup of the Black experience in America and across, and I think they was thinking global. And what you'll see with various scholars who've contributed to the developing framework of ABPsi is that you'll see trends that happen in the 60s going into the 70s. They did try to imagine some of the radical concepts and ideas of that time. They did do a deeper investigation to racism and its association and synonymous connection to white supremacy. They did try to use models of Western thought, especially coming out of the Chicago School of Psychology, Sociology, and apply that to the same rigor and analyzation of Black folks, but using a different spin. And I'm just giving y'all my interpretation. I can't tell y'all for exact how this looked, but there was different people. Linda James Myers come to it to mind for me. It was a powerful person today doing this work, but they begin to look at ways of being that goes beyond just the African experience, but that connected Black people to African psychology. And it's not just Black people in America. They're talking about the Caribbeans, the South American Black folks, looking at the psychological makeup of Black folks that goes just beyond the parameters of America, but what is the ways of being that we existed even beyond slavery, and what maintained, what died, what was reformatted, and how are we impacted? Like Hit said yesterday, how are we impacted from those unique social experiences? And so one of the things that you hit on the nail yesterday was it's difficult for me to feel like I could be a subject of them when I wasn't a part of that process for a psychologist to come up with these type of diagnoses. And I think that's a healthy critique. I think some of the hard things that I've critiqued AB side with over the years, and I'm gonna land here because my son is trying to get in contact with me, is that AB side for the most part came into existence to challenge APA, okay, to create a different model, a different way of scholarship that produced literature around mental health, mental illness, and to diagnose our experience from a different model, different perspective. But they never left the ivory tower. They never left the campuses. They never left the colleges to be able to say, how do we apply this into the field of working with the Black family? And that's my, and to use the model that you were saying earlier, that's my gripe with them, and why I sometimes have to go to a different car dealership, because I couldn't get that need met. They can introduce the dopest model to understand how stress-related racism and stress-related trauma, which are dope concepts that I can't remember what that therapist, that psychologist who came up with that. Dope concepts, beautiful. Now, how do I turn that into therapeutic practices? How do I take that model and produce curriculum to help people deal with stress-related racism? And that's the disconnection that I've always struggled with over the years when I started reading behind African psychology and reading behind some of the various authors that's contributed to that model, and trying to make sense of what they're saying, because it exists in the realm of scholarship. And sometimes I ask the question, it's like, well, how do you know this when I don't find a lot of empirical data that says you've worked with these
They
families and worked with
they
this
they did
group?
they didn't know that.
But but
They couldn't have known that because science wasn't there yet. And what you're saying is actually something that wound up getting some validity long after the fact, right? So, and not that it's not there, but okay. So basically, what for what you're saying, for me, do you know who Madame Bobowski is
Matt said
by any
again.
chance? Madame Bobowski, you know who that is by any chance? That's the
No.
astrology lady. You ever heard of her?
Oh, I don't think
Okay,
so.
so let's say we got a group of people who are just saying things, and because of some of the stuff that they say, they influence a college to start a what was that, whatever kind of department. Let's just say it's a psychology department. So they inspire a new division based on what they're saying.
Hmm.
So for me, if I take what they're saying, right, and see how it may have inspired this thing, but what they're saying doesn't necessarily give. any sort of like context to this thing. So even though they've opened up the door for it, their mission isn't about that. Like it was like so just by happenstance, because they threw so much at the wall, that they was right about this one particular thing, right? that
Hmm.
that's kind of how I look at that. So with that being said, the people who I would deem the best in that thing would be the people who take it and like you say, analyze what they're saying and try to find solutions. I
Right.
wouldn't go to them, right? I would go to the people who are currently working through that and look for the solutions. Like that would be where the real, where it's where all the real jewels would be at, is where what have people done with this information, because they didn't do nothing with it.
Right.
They
Right.
just
And that
happened they
makes
just happened to say so much stuff it inspired something.
right. That makes sense. And here's the thing: I don't know enough about all the psychologists and psychiatrists who's contributed to ABSI's work over the last 50, 60 years to be able to say definitively that none
No,
of them
no,
are
and I
done
know your time is
scientific
short.
work.
That's why I'm cutting you. That's why I'm cutting you off. So that's why that's the only thing I want to leave you with is like
Uh,
so once we've identified, yeah, they got this thing off of the ground, and other people have taken it to new levels, right? Like so, the people who started that thing weren't able to take it anywhere, even though some of them are still alive, right? So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
would not refer to Naeem Akbar as the person at the forefront of this particular thing. As a matter of fact, he is as far behind in it as anybody else, because he doesn't he hasn't updated any of his shit since they came out. You know what I'm saying? So
Well,
I
right.
wouldn't refer to him. I would refer to the people who are doing it now. But
Well, that is
and I'm gonna land my plane here. So yesterday, I was still wrestling with okay, like I kind of ran through that scenario in my head, and I was wondering. So okay, with all of that being said, why would you stand up for Francis Cress Welsing? Like it seemed to me it was more about this affinity rather than all the other things that we were talking about.
um okay. There's a couple of things that you landed on that I'm trying to make sure I can go back. Let me start with where you left off at. For me, like I said, it's I use Akbar's piece, whether it's gripe or grace or whether it's measuring people by their, I've heard me say this numerous times, perfection or excellence. It's a difficult model to always practice when you're evaluating, the scholarship and the contributions of our people's, work. It's always difficult. But there's some people that you try to, if we have to evaluate them, if we have to measure them for their work, I can't
Yeah, we
hold
always
them
have
up to
to.
some, right, right. And it's a natural thing we do. I can't hold them up to some standard of perfection. I'm not perfect, and I'm not even trying to be perfect. So I can't look at them as some form of like they have to fit this certain type of criteria in order to be uh considered a legend or considered a scholar or considered this, because every single scholar that anybody could pull up got something wrong somewhere. And so what I've learned from Naeem Akbar is that we have to hold people by a standard of excellence. You look at the one thing or two or three that you can say they did that well, and you say on their at their rest stone, whatever, you say job well done for this. And sometimes that's difficult because when you, and I like what my brother Corey brought up yesterday, sometimes we have to look at the damage that they did and weigh that to what they did well. And we
Yeah,
might have
I
more
feel like
gripe. Let me finish. Let me land this here. We
go
might have
ahead, go
more
ahead, go ahead.
gripe. We might have more gripe at what they did wrong. And sometimes we might have to look at what they did well and just say, well, ain't no point of highlighting that because there's so much calamity to what they did was wrong. So it's not an easy principle to try to practice and implement. But with somebody like Welsing, I look at her and I said, okay, there's some pieces that she contributed to the conversation amongst other people of their time that I appreciate. And that's the only reason why I say I can't cancel her. I can't put her in that cancel culture. And there's other people that exist for me within that framework. But then I'm going to go back to something that you had said before you had cut me off, is that it's, oh man, I can't remember what that thought was. It was something that I needed to emphasize to make sure you understood what I was saying. It'll come back to me, hopefully. I'm gonna come in, but go ahead.
Well, I would say be careful in there. For sure, for sure. I don't. It's hard to pinpoint exactly where because it seems like there's some distance between what you believe and what she believes. But if you are in support of a person that seems to be racist, and I don't think you're a racist, there seems to be a contradiction in there somewhere.
Yeah, and again, that's the lens that you use. The lens that I interpret it from, I don't interpret her as a racist. That's what I was saying yesterday in the Discord. I don't look at her in that way. And I think there's some things that she brought to the conversation in terms of the confrontation of Black folks to white supremacy that she's done with a collection of other people, contributing to a collection of other peoples that I think was powerful. Again, like I said, there's some things that she put on the table and introduced that I'm like, I don't rock with. And so it's up to the person on how they want to evaluate what they can extract from that person and what they don't. That's
You,
I can't come to this Discord. I can't listen to the video on any of the podcasts that I've seen y'all do and say if I don't agree with everything that they say, then I'm just gonna cancel it. I can't do that. I have to look at what Chef says. I have to look at what Brass, what Logic, what Corey says, what Seds put on the table, what DQ says. Everybody put on the table, and I say, let me evaluate my agreement with that. I like what he said right
but
there,
we got to up the
so I
ante a
agree.
little bit with her. That's
But
that's not really fair.
it's the principle. It's the principle of practice. Whether or not we say because she had this deep degree and she knew this better or not, she was a human being that was trying to practice some ideological things and contribute to a school of thought that was developing and progressing at that time. And so
Right,
I
but
hope,
that
yeah, go
particular
ahead.
school of thought would be something that you would today stand against. You wouldn't stand up for racism today, but you are standing up for a school of thought that promoted racism. You see how like the political ideology puts you in a conundrum that you don't have to be in.
Not necessarily. I don't know if I agree with you on that one. I think it's one of those pieces where if logic has a framework that says Michael Bradley, um, Francis Cress Welsing, Marima Ani, um, Dr. Valan Wabonga, who else? What could I say at that time? Professor Smalls. A lot of these people who kind of generated thought around that era and time. And Miss Wilson. If logic says they all racist, they all promoted Black racism, then his frame of reference says that the context of anybody who may grab just a small element of agreement with them means that you're supporting that whole conventional thought, what they presented as racism. And it puts that person in a conundrum. But if my compass that I use says, looking at their material, I don't see what they introduce. Not all of them, because they're all uniquely different. I can't lump all of them in the same school of thought, for one. And two, if there's some pieces that one person said that may be delusional or distorted, but over here they said something that's influential, powerful, impactful, and help to change how we understand and interpret and communicate around racism and white supremacy, I have to rock with that. I have to
I
go
got
with
you.
it.
Can I
I have
can
to
I
say
ask you to
I
do
agree
something?
with that. Go
Can
ahead.
I let me ask you to juxtapose something? Um, you know who David Duke is, right?
Yep.
Say you meet a white person today. You don't know him from anything. y'all happen to get into a conversation and he say, "Man, did you hear what David Duke said?" And you be like, "Hell no, I ain't hear that shit." And then he'd be like, "Well, I'm not a racist, but David Duke had a good point when he said this." What would your opinion of that person be?
It has to be depending on what David Duke said. And I probably wouldn't, there's probably not a whole lot that David Duke would say that I agree with or would rock with. But it
See,
depends on what David Duke says. But if
but why?
David
But
Duke,
why
if
wouldn't
David
you
Duke,
Why wouldn't you
hold on,
agree with David Duke?
let's put it in context for a quick second. If David Duke was to go into a restaurant and said, damn, those are some damn good ass carrots. And I walked in that restaurant and ate those carrots, and I'm like, damn, those was some good carrots. I can't sit up here and say I'm racist because me and him agreed on that those carrots was good. I can't do that, But so it depends on what's said. Now, my prejudice, my pejorative understanding about David Duke is that more than likely anything that he says or anything that he spouses in terms of sociological, political, economic, or even religious views, I'm more than likely going to disagree with. So there's more than likely no alignment there. But again, it depends on, that's what I said earlier. As I started listening to us yesterday, and I kind of watched when I was working and doing some other pieces, I was listening to the uploaded recorded. I'm like, well, we all have different definitions and understanding of racism. We're not operating from the same conventional thought of racism. And that's a critically important piece because there's people here, I'm assuming, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, who believe that there's black supremacists, that there's a such thing as black racism. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. So that means that the point of view that we can understand Francis Cress Welsing's work is going to be different because how we view and understand racism. So when we get to the point where we have that conversation, where we can understand what racism is, what race ideology is, what white supremacy is, then I think we may find some alignment or have to agree with our misalignment or disagreement with what we understand how work is and how we evaluate our work. Does that make sense?
Um, mm, yes and no.
I'm not asking
I
for agreement. I'm asking, does it make sense?
I'm saying yes and no. I still believe that there's a bit of a contradiction there, but that's what I see, right? And I'm not intentionally harping on it, but it just sticks out to me like a sore thumb. So, but I hear what you're saying. Yes, and what you're saying does make sense. Of course, a person would have the ability to discern between when he's making a racial comment and when he's not.
Hmm.
But I would assume that since it's coming from David Duke, racism plays a role in whatever the fuck he says
Right.
because
That's
he's
right.
a racist.
That's right. That's right.
So,
No, I
so
agree with you on that.
I mean, to me, even if he tell me about the carrots, that there's an element of racism in. Like that's,
It could
I mean
be.
that's,
He might
I
be
mean,
saying
but
that
that's
them niggas up in there make some really good ass kids. Yeah, hey,
I don't,
you know,
yeah, but that's how I see it. Like I don't,
yeah.
like once I've established that you work within that particular paradigm, I don't feel as if I need to extract small nuggets of success from what you're saying, right? Like I'm past that. Like I'm just not rocking with it. You know what I'm saying? And then on this particular conversation, but that's how I would handle it. I wouldn't make any exceptions. You know what I'm saying? For David
Another
Duke,
thing is,
any more than I would try to make exceptions for Francis Cress Wells. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So for me,
and
I
a
meet
lot
the
of
guy.
things, a lot of the positive things, like you could choose somebody else to get them from,
That's what
because
I'm saying.
it's not like the
And
positive
now I
things that
don't
she
have to.
said or done, like it's not like nobody else ever done that. You know
Yeah,
what
and
I
now
mean?
I can eliminate the concern of what you're saying being, saturated with racism. I don't have to deal with that concern. So that's what I mean when I'm saying the stuff that they did contribute to, I could just go find somebody else saying exactly what they said. And it's not until they get off of the page on academia that that they start giving their original thought anyway. I could just go find somebody else saying the same thing. exact same thing.
Yeah, I think
So
yeah,
it's
go
not
ahead.
about so there seems to be that's where I get there is like an imaginary line there between am I after the information or am I after them? Because I can go find somebody else given, what I'm saying, what the textbook says, but I need them to give, their I need them to give their original spin on the information. The only thing unique about
I hear what you're saying, and I hear what Corey is saying. I think that's the best way to say this. I think it boils down to the utility of how we're evaluating a particular author or a person. So the conversation came up about Francis Cress Welsing. Now, if we were talking about that school or that body of work of different scholars of that time who was thinking in that trend, I think it's different than objectifying that one particular person versus the full scope of people who were thinking of that time and producing material that aligned in that particular body of work. Because then, yeah, you could say like, okay, well, you could just go get that from somebody else and borrow that, and you don't have to necessarily. And then it's not so much about Francis Cress Welsing. The reason why I'm saying that I take the position where I'm just not going to cancel her is because I put her in that place of that body of work. And two, I think there's some pieces that she has debated, she's articulated, and advocated for that has really advanced our understanding of the infrastructural conceptualization of white supremacy. And so,
such as what
yes, I can get that from Ashley Montague to a degree. I can get that from Mahmoud El Kati. I can get that from Derek Bell, of course. So I'm not going to sit up here and say, well, because she got this wrong and got that wrong, then I'm just going to, throw her in the trash, or I'm going to just cancel her, or I'm going to dismiss her because she got those two things wrong, but she aligned with all these. I can't do that. I just, for me, this is my personal piece. I look at her and just say, these are the pieces that I do rock with what she introduced. These are the things that I do rock with that she agreed on with other scholars. These are the things that I do rock with that she got right. And I leave it at that. I think what y'all are trying to kind of make the argument for is that, well, because she didn't introduce anything pivotal, she didn't drop anything that's like extremely new and brand new, and then she got this wrong, that we have to completely say she's dismissed and there's nothing that she contributed to the table. And I don't think I subscribe to that model. That's not something I'm gonna ever subscribe to. I think there's quite a few things in her literature and her ideas that she expounds that was very equated and similar of that time that she got right. And I have to hold true to that, because for me, when I look at Black scholarship, when I look at African descendancy scholarship, when I look at a lot of people's work, I just hold them up in sacredness, period, whether they're alive today or they already transitioned. I just hold that up and I say I have to try to extract something from it. I struggle with Thomas Sowell. I do. But I do look for the kernel of what he contributes that I can say, I might rock with that. I struggle with the writings of Larry Elder and some of this stuff that he stands on. I just don't have a much alignment to. But there's some pieces that I'm looking for that I can say, what is he excellent about? What is he contributing to the table? I said to the brothers yesterday, I'm having a hard time with Dr. Umar Johnson. I had to go and I haven't even read his book yet. I got it on the shelf. Yesterday evening, after me and my boys had some time in the evening just playing and running outside, I had to come in and pull his stuff and just open it up real quick to see what is it inside of his book that maybe I can grab from him before I completely just like I don't have a whole lot to say, but because I had to see like what did he say? And I have to admit that there's a couple of things that, he said that's very much alignment with Dr. Keith Mays at the University of Minnesota that has advocated for Black males inside the public educational school system. And he's echoed a lot of different people who's wrote about that particular piece. One of them is this brother out of California. I can't think of his name right now, but who helped to situate Black males Black boys inside educational systems. Dr. Umar Johnson did a decent job with that in his book. So if there's anything that I can extract from him, it's gonna be that all this Prince of Pan Africanism, all of this other mess that he did, yes, it's been complicated. It's been challenging. I don't rock with it. I don't agree with it, but I'm looking for the excellence. And if I have to give any type of interpretation, or if somebody says, "What's your thoughts on this thought or this person and what they presented?" I can be honest. I can thoroughly say, like, I don't agree with this, this, and this. The only element that I do agree with that I can try to make apply to the work that I do is what he said over here. And that's it. That's it. I think that's the best for me. This is just me personally. That's the best principle of action that I could bring to my work and to any conversation when it comes to evaluating the efficacy of our people and what we do. I just don't believe in just canceling people just because their toenails is just wrong. I'm not that's some boomerang type shit. I'm not gonna roll the blankets back and see how messed up their toes is in a hammer time and just say, oh, they gotta go. I can't do that. That's not my mode.
I have a question.
I get you.
Yes, sir.
I,
Go ahead,
before
Elijah.
you say that, Braz,
Go ahead, Elijah.
I get what you're saying, and I think the crux isn't necessarily about what she got wrong or right. I think the big part is the contradiction between she's attempting to combat systemic racism while promoting it as a biological reality. But go ahead, Lance.
Um, so I was just listening. I'm doing some
Y'all
stuff
still
around.
hear me?
I'm not really the best right now. I don't even know how good these conversations are going to be today because I won't be able to really participate. But um, somebody else going to have to run it or this or another. But what she did, I don't think, in my opinion, for me, the reason why I choose to remove her is because what she did isn't comparable to pulling back the blanket and seeing her toenails. She was an academic, and that was her framework for being an academic. So now you tell me if this qualifies as simply just she's a beaut. Everything about her was perfect other than her toenails. I saw Boomerang, great movie. We have I would suffice to say uh, a female, especially a black female during her time, it was probably, you ever heard the saying that, like, black people feel it, but black females feel it the worst, right? Because they're literally two jaded groups. Like, the America, how they treat their females, and then on black people, they get the opportunity to be both, which is a blessing, but they get hurt for it. So if you want to say her contributions are encouraging, matter of fact, before I even go there, what did she do? What did she do in your mind, Mujasi? What was her contribution?
If I had to, my readings and listening to her,
Mm-hmm.
like I mentioned, I think she helped along with other people at that time and
No,
for a while
specifically her.
to, yeah,
Specifically
that's
her.
what I'm saying, to advance our understanding of white supremacy and the structure and its impact upon Black bodies and Black people. And I think she helped to bring those concepts to a more palatable and usable discourse in our community.
Okay. Now, what else? Like, what was her? Okay, so what tangible though? Okay, so that's thought. That's what she advanced thought. But
I could leave it right there. I
Okay,
could
so
leave it
just
right
put a
there.
pin in it right there. Okay.
Yeah.
So she advanced our understanding of white supremacy as an academic, as a medical doctor. If she advanced our understanding, let's say it's some kind of black psychological unity, let's say that. So
Mhm.
she gave us some kind of unified understanding of it. If she gives that to us, now in the moment, it feels amazing. In the moment, it unifies. But if she gives that to us through white genetic annihilation, if she gives it to us just to feed our emotions, but as an academic, not give us anything scientific, not give us anything rooted in any kind of scientific theory, not give us, she's supposed to be different. Like she's supposed to be held, and this is not her. I'm talking about medical doctors in general, and they know it. You're supposed to do not what we would do. I would fully expect a regular person, I don't even say uneducated, just not a medical doctor in psychiatry. She has a responsibility to literally not do that. So when she does that, even if it gives you the feeling in the moment, she does lectures and TV appearances. When she was talking to Shockley, she's fighting pseudoscience with pseudoscience. When in actuality, there were people during her time, educated and otherwise, that were fighting that pseudoscience with actual science, testable science theories. So when she's given us this, the reason why I'm being specific to her and why I say I can revere her resistance and throw the rest away, the reason why I feel like you have to is because if somebody would have took a hard stance at the time, and everybody keeps talking about what she was fighting against during that time. She was fighting against systemic racism. She was fighting against Jim Crow. She was fighting against the sentiment against Black people at the time. They don't talk about what she was fighting for and why she probably did what she was also supporting Black Power. She was also, that was the sentiment that was working in her favor that she took advantage of too. Because while everybody's yelling Black Power, you don't realize that what she's saying don't make no damn sense. That's why you get somebody like a John Henry Clark who supports that. Somebody got to have some sense in the room. Somebody got to be the adult. Someone has to say, like, stop. Even if it's Black Power and you got white people fighting it, or European, whatever the sentiment at the time, the system's fighting against you, and the people are at a moment where anything you say Black Power, anything you say that makes sense, anything that you say will rally the people. Somebody got to be the adult in the room to say, stop. Like, you've gone too far with that. So now, let me just say this and I'll land my plane. So does she have anything defensible? Possibly. Like I said, but only as a cultural figure at the time and what she did. But as an academic, though, a psychiatrist who started dabbling her hands in biology and genetics, as an academic, I don't see any redeemable anything, especially when the fact that I could almost surprise it. Maybe somebody else would have done it. But the reason why we got a Umar, the reason why we got a Tariq Nasheed, the reason why we got a Polite is because of the teaching is in the rhetorics of her and people of her time that are just saying absolute mind stuff to unscientific people. And unscientific doesn't mean dumb, but just people that don't understand the difference of that she's a medical doctor practicing psychiatry, giving you biologic scientific certainties. So when we talk about her damage and her harm, we could say, oh, that was just the time, and we give a pass to everybody pre-70. Umar Johnson is here today, and he's been robbing people forever on the same white genetic annihilation, homosexuality, and the white people fear us because they about to go away. So her works are still here today. So when do we say enough is enough? That's 1960. That's 60 years ago. Do we got to wait until 21, 25? And there's another Umar Johnson when we're all dead and gone, and they don't realize that the umbrella and the branches of Francis Cress Wilson, of a person, a charlatan coming in here with all kind of scientific knowledge based in some kind of white genetic annihilation, and they still taking money for the community, and they still taking money for some school that don't exist, and writing books for people to buy and doing lectures for people to spend their money when you realize that it was based in something from 1960. And then you could probably go before her. At some point, somebody got to take a hard stance and stop cutting all of these corners. John Henry Clark, while anybody wants to celebrate him, go look up the Iceman Inheritance that he wrote the foreword for. He's a racist. She's a racist. And at some point, I'm not saying we're the ones that's going to take up some Captain American mantle or the Avengers or something, but at some point, somebody got to take a hard stance or at least take a real scrutiny to these people's legacy. And here's the thing, legacy in our clothes. I mean, here's the thing with Jossie in our clothes. If her legacy is so solid, then it should stand up to some scrutiny. The other day, we were bringing up Martin Luther King and Malcolm X in the same conversation with Francis Cress Wilson, and I didn't understand it until yesterday. Hitz has a habit of doing that. He'll say something, and in the moment, it'll be vile. I'm like, what? Francis Cress Wilson, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X? And then the next day, I'll get it, and then I got to apologize and clean it up. CEO of Trimedia for people who don't know. But I will say this in that same conversation, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, their legacies were really scrutinized. We put them to the microscope, and we realized, yes, Malcolm X was racist, Detroit Red, and he was racist before he did his time in Mecca, and he was probably not racist technically only about 2 years towards the end of his life when he got back from Mecca. Then he was assassinated, but at least his legacy stands up to scrutiny. It's not the same thing. Martin Luther King, they say he slept around and he was a communist and he was working for the white man and all of a sudden the other, but that person's legacy under a microscope stood up to scrutiny. He's still Martin Luther King and he's still Malcolm X. Her legacy does not stand up to scrutiny because when you say, you asked you, what did she contribute? You told me she gave us an advanced understanding, a unified understanding of white supremacy to Black folks. It was a completely flawed understanding of white supremacy because she actually supported white supremacy. Because when you just say in a small voice, yeah, white supremacy is about power and colonialization and inferiority and economics. But then with your big boy pants and your medical degree talking to unscientific people say, but it's also white genetic annihilation. And then you start putting all these science terms that make absolutely no sense then and now. And those people go with that theory, and that ain't real. Then what understanding did she give us of white supremacy? I land my plane. I could go too long on this. And I don't want it to be combative. That's just my opinion with Jossie. I'm not trying to, this ain't a cut you conversation. Yeah.
No, my God, this is all out of love, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah. No. Sometimes in the chat might think I'm trying to cut you or nothing, but I'm just giving you my opinion. But that's where I stand. I don't know if anybody else got anything. This might not even be a long show today, because I definitely can't be here today. I got to visit some business sites.
That was super duper cooking. No, that was super duper cooking right there. You balled out of control for a couple minutes, man. I'm glad you stopped before you called on fire. But for real, it was like the thing that I found that you said, right, that it seems to be like a bit of a conundrum that I see it and Brad sees it, but it seems like in this particular conversation, you see it a different way, Mujasi, like with the racism part, right? Like I'm not discarding her. I'm not even discarding her because I think she's wrong. I'm discarding because I think racism is dangerous. Like I think that's where I think that we might be missing. Like I'm so seeing it as dangerous. Like I would stomp that out. Like that's like I can't. So beyond that, I can't take any of the other stuff she said because she got all that from college. But go ahead.
No, I don't have a whole lot to contribute to that because I mean, Brad said a lot, and he got some opinion. He got some good opinion. There's some things that he elevated that I think is important to consider. I think there's a few things that were suppositions in there that he's just drawing some references to, and we can't debate that. There's no point of debating that. I wouldn't debate it because I don't debate. I think it's just one of those where it lands where you highlighting, and this is what I was trying to say earlier. This is what I posted in the Discord, is that it really does depend on how you understand race, the ideology of race, and racism. Because I think that particular perspective is going to allow you to evaluate people like her and other folks in their work based on your ability to really scrutinize your definition with that and understand, have that understanding. Um, I've read Ashley Montague's work. I've read Derek Bell's work. I've read Mahmoud El-Khachi's work. And I'm just saying this because I'm giving y'all the frame of references of how I understand race and white supremacy. I've read some work that have shaped my understanding of race, racism, and white supremacy. And so with that lens, and y'all might say it's limited or sits in a certain category, um, it allows me to view her work and other people who have similar literature and historians from a lens that does not conclude to what y'all have concluded with. But one of the reasons why I come here to this Discord is to learn other people's perspective, challenge myself on what I may not know. Well, a lot that I don't know. Challenge myself on what I don't know, and also get grounded in what I do know. And so I think that's the importance of these type of exchanges, is to be able to hear other people's perspectives, kind of get really rooted in what you know, take notes on what you want to explore more, and really shake hands on what we agree on and disagree with. And I'm not coming to this thinking that I have to, I want y'all to agree with everything I said, and I'm agree with everything that y'all saying. I think it's healthy to have this exchange. Brother Sosa mentioned that the other day. Through conflicts like this, through these type of exchanges, we get better at what we do, or better at what we know. And so I think that's it's critical around this. And when we evaluate someone like her and other people similar to her, because again, I'm trying to put her inside the school of thought that she echoes and come from. I think it allows us to be able to, have a deeper understanding of what we know and what we don't know. I read the ISIS papers. I read the Osiris papers, and I didn't read the whole book, but most of it. I've listened to some of her lectures. Um, I've listened to some of her speaking engagements. And so, yeah, she's presented some things that I don't rock with. She's also said a lot of things that I do rock with. And that goes to the host of different people that fall similar into her genre. Like we talked about Naeem Akbar, who's kind of different. It's not the same genre. Dr. Wade Nobles, Marima Ani, Amma Muzama, there's a lot of people that exist in that same form of literature and discourse, but have unique things that they come from that I agree with, that I rock with. And there's certain things that they've said that I'm like, yeah, I don't really subscribe to that too much. And so, you know, I appreciate what y'all brothers are offering on the table. And I can join y'all on some things, and on other elements, I say, yeah, I stand over here and maybe stand over here a little different and by myself. It's all out of love.
Yeah, it's definitely out of love. I'm certainly not attacking you. As a matter of fact, I respect what you're saying so much that I'm trying to be as respectful to the topic. Like, and whereas I might, throw a little jab or a little joke in there, I'm not doing it because I want to, pave the way for the conversation to be as open as possible. I don't want you to feel like you got to hold back or vice versa. I will. I got you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. We'll never. These type of exchanges are good to just be able to have some good thought and to build our thinking around things. We should never resort to, cursing people out and calling people names and insulting people because they have different perspectives on something. I think that's
No,
ridiculous.
it's cool. It's
Yeah.
cool. It's cool. So the part. Okay. So my last part where I thought where you said something heard that was we got to the contribution. So you see her um, giving her analysis on white supremacy, be it wrong or be it right, as a contribution comparable to what a doctor should contribute to a particular conversation. You actually see that as like that. I'm cool with my doctor just being able to do this. That what you kind of.
Ask that again. Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
I'm saying so like I feel like now uh, I'm hearing you say it, and the way I internalize it is you have moved what you would contribute, what you would consider a contribution. You've lowered the bar in order to allow Francis Cress Welsing to be there, right? Because I mean, basically, what you said is something a drunk
Yeah.
person could blurt out something that could possibly be useful, and you know what I'm saying. But I wouldn't say that they needed to be a PhD to blurt out something that I could potentially use. You know what I'm saying? I would assume that your contribution would at least be uh, part of the understanding that you gained from going to college. But in this particular instance, we're looking at the complete opposite. We're looking at somebody who went to college, ignored all of that, and then decided to make a contribution. You get what I'm saying?
I think I get what you're saying. I think one of the things that I hear what you and Brad say is that there's this higher standard. There's a expectation that you hold to people who go to school and get these advanced degrees and what material and work they produce. And and I think I don't lower no bar in no respects like that. I think I classify them different. I can't sit up here and presume that there's a higher I don't create no hierarchy around how I interpret and utilize the works and the wisdoms and the sayings of specific people because they have a degree or they did this. I mean, there's certain meaning that I put on it, but not necessarily mean that I hold it one more up than the other. I think I'm being clear, maybe not, because whether or not some of the stuff that she's taught, whether or not some of the stuff that she
Hold your
espoused
feet to the fire a little
was um was coming from her perspective as a medical doctor, or whether it was coming from her philosophy just as a person who's observing and trying to evaluate life around her. Um, I think it contributed, and so I think there's a certain level of expectations that we can draw from where we can say, like, well, you're a doctor and you're supposed to do this, and this is what you're supposed to do. And I think we have to have some standard to it. But I don't know if I will put somebody's understanding of the world as higher because they have a degree or something like that behind their name. Like there's a lot of people who've contributed to the advancement of our schools and thought and our progression politically and socially who didn't have those
bit.
advanced degrees, and yet they contributed deeply to this type of work. They've contributed to the wisdom and intelligentsia, and the philosophies of our people. And they didn't have the advanced degrees. And do I sit up here and not take them as serious because they wasn't medical doctors or PhDs or they didn't produce some scholarship behind their name? No, I have to evaluate
I
and
thought
weight
that
it
that's
for the
just what
futility
I
for
thought
my
that
life.
that was like normal, right? Like, I'm stopping you from getting to another point before I address this point, right? So, like, in real life, if I go to a restaurant, the food ain't good, I'm not likely to go back. And if I do go back, I probably won't order the same thing. And if I go to my doctor and he misdiagnoses me, I'm definitely not going back. And it's because I went to my doctor to seek his professional opinion. Right? I only went there because he's got a professional opinion. And then then he shows an inability to do his job. I need to find a better professional, right? And so if I go to my doctor and he gives me opinion about the stock market, he's not giving me his opinion based on his training that he received when he went to school. But I go there and I ask him about my knee, I expect him to incorporate his training in his thought process when he gives me an opinion, because that's what I paid for. I didn't pay for his name. I paid for his education. Like I want to. You give me the stuff I don't have, right? That's what I expect my doctor to do. And if he does not do that, I need to find one who does. So her opinion absolutely needs to be grounded in the stuff that she learned from school. Absolutely. If my mechanic messes up my car, okay, let's say I take my car to a crackhead and he messed it up. It's damn near my fault because I took it to a crackhead. But if I take it to the mechanic and he say he could fix it and he can't, well, damn, you supposed to be able to fix it because you a mechanic. You get what I'm saying? I'm supposed to hold the mechanic to a higher standard than I hold the crackhead, even though they both fix cars.
Hey, Logic, I just want to say something and to say this to you and Mujasi. So in the chat, I just want to read this comment to you, and this is what we're working against. Calling all Black American racist is a joke. Racism means power and control. I almost don't disagree with half of that statement. But then it says the disrespect to our master teachers is beyond disgusting and off code. Where is this Negro from? The real world. Outside. Open your window and go look. That's where I'm from. If Francis Cress Wilson is your master teacher, good luck. Good luck with that. Good luck if you are walking around planet Earth right now thinking of white genetic annihilation, melanin theory, and and color confrontation. If that's your worldview, good luck. And I hate to say it, I hope I'm not unwrapping or setting myself up for some kind of failure. But Mujasi, that's exactly what I'm saying. In 2025, why are we even talking about master teachers? But even if you saying that Francis Cress Wilson has a redeemable quality, if her three theories are your worldview, does that qualify as a master teacher, Mujasi? Would she qualify under the standards of follow these three theories for success in life?
You know, I never really get down with like labels like that, but
I
I know
agree.
some people do. Yeah, some people do.
And that's
Some people
dangerous,
do, and
man.
I don't. I know you consider that dangerous. I don't knock people for that because we know however they label and rank people in their life. You know, I try not to judge in that way. But I think if I just extract the sentiment of what that commenter is trying to say is that, you know, there's certain people that they revere, that we revere, that, you know, folks get offended from if we're critiquing and saying that we canceling them or we mislabeling them. Now, I'm not justifying what they're saying. I'm just saying that's just my
No,
interpretation.
I get it, Mujasi.
Yeah.
Me and you have a standard. If her legacy is so strong, and his name is Amin Ray Crosby. Cosby? Crosby. So if her legacy, Amin Ray Crosby, is solid, then no critique from a YouTube guy named Brad should be able to destroy it. That's where I would stay. I think I'm trying to have a healthy conversation. Somebody in there said, I hope you're not trying to tear down. And even if it sounds like it, trust and believe I understand that that's a Black woman growing up in a time where they probably got it worse than everybody else. So trust me, I understand that, and I don't want this to be turned down. But in order for me to scrutinize a legacy, at least the way I was taught, you just look at everything, and that's how I can differentiate between Malcolm, MLK, you know, even Darwin. We had a great. I don't know if you was there yesterday, Mijasi, but we had a great conversation in and around Darwin. I want that to actually be a show, but the people that I would want to be on that show aren't in this chat right now. But even him, you know, and saying that he's racist. But I gotta figure out the words for this. But we can either say he discovered evolution, recognized evolution, put it forth as a theory. I don't know. That's above my pay grade. But I could look at that contribution and still call him a racist. Evolution was happening with or without him, but his contribution kind of defeat. Like when I asked you earlier about her contribution, asking about Darwin's is easy while still saying, yeah, he was racist though. Oh, he was most certainly racist. And I've heard many people in this community say he wasn't racist. And I guess it would be because he did evolution, and we can't, two things can't be true in this community. I can fully scrutinize Frances Cress Welsing's legacy while revering her resistance and throwing the rest of it away without throwing her away. That would be the best way. Well, the way I know how to put it right now. But everybody is I don't know. Are you and Logic still going, or does anybody else
No,
have anything to add, or
I
what?
actually got to
Everybody's
jump
basically
off.
just listening. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to make sure Logic get his last closing thought on that because I got to jump off.
What
Last closing thought on what?
Huh?
no, you go ahead, Logic.
The last
Go ahead,
closing
Logic.
thought on what?
Turn that off there.
If I just before I jump off, I wanted to see if you had any last closing thoughts.
Okay. I definitely appreciate you, and this is a good conversation. Hopefully, we can continue to have it. Because I think that you're making some really good points, and I want to continue to have it because I really believe that you might be mishearing something in there. So that's why I want to be able to continue to have it. But thank you. Always a good conversation. So
Likewise.
that everything else I would say, wouldn't necessarily be directed towards you.
Okay.
So
Appreciate y'all, brother, so much. I got to jump off, but I will be listening on the background.
Yep, I'm gonna have
For
to
sure,
jump
for
off in
sure.
a second too. Peace and justice.
Peace.
Yeah, if you I'll probably be back at my hotel room in about 2 hours, Brass. I know I can't work the controls until for about another 2 hours, but I'll get on and keep it going for you. But
No
but
problem.
yeah, like so
I
like
won't be
me,
here in the
my
next
big
30
fear.
minutes. Go ahead.
Now you good. My big fear, right, is of course what happens when we have us layman people exposed to this. And the unfortunate part is it gets magnified because here on the internet you got so many people who adhere to it already, and I don't think that they ever really give a good justification of why they like it. That's a huge problem for me. Even I heard Mujasi's answers. I heard him answer it, right, and we will continue to talk. But I realize that the color of a person's skin is a horrible way to relate to another person. Horrible. And what I mean by that is there's nothing of any value, none of this value, but there's nothing of any consequence in it. Because if just because both of us are black, but we got two opposing ideas of the world, we really don't have shit in common. So us being black won't bridge a gap like that. So you're much better off being around people who have similar ideas to you. Y'all can get a lot more done rather than just coming together because y'all, in the similar shade of the crayon box. You know what I'm saying? There's no action in there. There's no, we agree on enough things to keep something going there. So to me, when I relate to my blackness and I relate to the other blackness and other people, I'm not putting it at this hierarchy of, oh, you need to be black for me to relate to you. No, I'm more from the camp of I need you to have a similar worldview, to have some similar goals, so we can have a relationship that does something for both of us, right? Like not just some let's chat on the phone, buddy. No, let's figure out what we could do. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a much better relationship to me. So when I look at a relationship of doing between black people and Frances Cress Welsing, I immediately get concerned as to what is she suggesting black people do. Not a good friend. As a matter of fact, she might be telling you, right? to me, she's basically telling you that your world is dangerous. You know what I'm saying? She's telling you that there's an obstacle out there that you have no weapon for, and I can't make any use out of that. I just can't. Like I can't justify promoting a message that basically says we helpless, just so I can create awareness that white supremacy or or racism still exists in America. There's a much better way for me to describe racism to black people in America, other than it being some more morally urgent thing that if you don't take care of right here, right now, you can't do X, Y, Z. You can't go to the grocery store, can't get a job, can't get a car, can't have a family, can't buy a house. No, nope, 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 nope. We gotta, and I think that we owe it to ourselves and the people who come behind us who care about these particular things. We owe them a much better route of how to accomplish this, right? Because because that's why I feel like I'm meeting people along the way. I'm meeting people who actually are trying to accomplish those things, and they consider Francis Quest Wilson as a part of their solution. So, unfortunately, you might have to attack some of these people's elders and maybe attack some of those things. But, trying to do it through discourse that allows a person to maybe see some blind spots they may have, right? This one particular blind spot in Francis Quest Wilson is definitely about showing that there's a contradiction in fighting against white supremacy while promoting racism. You know what I'm saying? But you would have the other person would have to acknowledge the weight of the racism on both sides. Like it can't be a weapon to destroy one thing because you kept it going using it as a weapon. Like there's a contradiction in there that won't even really allow you to do what you're trying to do. So you know what I'm saying? Don't use it
Basically
like
saying that evil racism. You're basically saying that evil racism is tenable or is not.
right.
But it can't. Either it's tenable or it's not. If we agree that racism is non-tenable, then we can't use it as a weapon to fight against it. That's
Nope.
just crazy. You know what I mean? So you can't excuse racism. And one of the things, and that was a great conversation that y'all had, right? No matter what's up, because I agree with some of the things that Majasi said. You dig what I'm saying? So it's a balancing act, right? Where do you toe the line where you completely discard a person? You dig what I'm saying? So I think that should be the next conversation, right? And you kind of hinted at your philosophy logic on it, but I think he did a amazing job of making the case why he didn't discard her, right? But you hinted at the tenableness of racism as being the fact where you would have to just negate her just because of that, because that's a trap that you can't deny that. You know what I mean? Like, how could you discuss her or anything of value that she brought without running into the racism, without the racism being a major factor in assessing her? It is. You dig what I'm saying? Because everything, and then Corey came in and furthered your point that anything that is of the consensus or usable that comes from her was already espoused in her field before she said it. So you don't even need her for the things that she got right. You dig what I'm saying? You only need her for the things that is of controversy. And they're the things that we feel as though she got wrong because she used racism in it. So that's my spin.
Yeah, that was a great way to summarize it. And that's what I meant when I was like, everything that we use of her is all stuff that she went off the page and said. Because all the other stuff that she would have said would have been stuff that she learned in college. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what I mean.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I want to do a show, right? Because I'm still trapped where Majasi is at with certain people, right? I can still read Naeem Akbar, certain things from him and say, man, this is so powerful, or what he said right here. I can read Tony Browder, right? And there's certain things that just jump off the page. Like this brother nailed that. You dig what I'm saying? Like I see exactly what he's saying. But then you can flip the page and he's talking about melanin and the advantage. So it's like, yo, what do I do? You dig what I'm saying? What do I do with this? But we can't say like that Francis Cress Welsing didn't display levels of brilliance. It's the barbershop, wrong door. You can't negate the fact that Francis Cress Welsing, like even when she debated that white guy, she showed, she was a brilliant sister. She could hang with anybody. You dig what I'm saying? So it's like, you know what I mean? I don't know. You know what I mean? But that was a great conversation. I don't think. I think that you went about that. That was amazing. Like that. That's the type of conversations we need to have because y'all did that. Y'all did that. You know what I mean?
She was definitely brilliant, Chef, in that conversation. She was a brilliant pseudo. Yep. She was fighting pseudoscience with pseudoscience, and she was brilliant at it.
But you can see her intelligence in it.
She got an MD from Howard. We know she's intelligent. That's the reason why I don't understand. That's my quandary. My quandary is not like she's not some autodidactic. Mm-hmm. She's not somebody that taught herself. She got an MD from Howard. That's the standard. That's why I kept bringing up standard. Like even in the chat. So I don't know if they're saying we're petty bourgeoisie or they're saying these petty bourgeoisie are out of control. I don't get it. But like Vino is saying I'm in the process and I had to see it for myself, but I'm trying to get where we at for sure, right? Squally says we headed in the right direction so you can get some clarity. He said he been got that pseudo blackology out of his system. Now Vyasa, I think I know who that is, but I don't.
Yeah, he's always around. Like I said, that's
okay, right. So shouts to him. But he says calling them racist is like calling Tina Turner violent for responding to Ike. But see, Tina Turner, it's entertaining. Tina Turner, that's a valid response to domestic violence. So we're saying that the valid response to white supremacy is the melanin theory, color confrontation, and white genetic annihilation.
He's saying that's self-defense. He said that's self-defense. Francis just was trying to defend herself, nigga. I love it. Y'all niggas. I love that shit.
He said that was self-defense.
He said that's
that shit is fucking hilarious.
That was a classic show. That was a classic,
man. If all y'all gonna hit us with is the Sabers and the Babas and the Master Teacher, if you're there, then we're not talking to you because this is me saying this. You're already lost, bro. That's it. Now, in my opinion, I can't help you. If you at Saber and Master Teacher, it would be like me talking about your mama and your daddy. So I get it why you don't understand. And if you don't want to have an open mind in these conversations, I know that their teachings are, they're your identity. You grew up believing melanin theory. You grew up believing white genetic annihilation. Fine, bro. If that's your thing, I'm not trying to alter your worldview. I'm just giving you my opinion. And, for the people that catch it, even people that talk, I don't expect, this is not for conversion. I'm not trying to take you from one thing into something else. Y'all just hearing me personally try to get clarity. Y'all just get to hear it. If that's what I describe these shows as, that's what it is. We're trying to get clarity. Remember, this is a private Discord chat that we opened up to the public. So we would be having this conversation.
We working through the shit.
We're
working through the shit just like it, but we're willing to have the conversation. Yeah. You feel me? Like, and it ain't a kumbaya. You feel me? We gonna land on different, places on the spectrum. All of us. Ain't none of us gonna land completely at the same place. You feel me? So it's a spectrum, and that's our new word. Yeah.
You got to find a way to embrace sticking your neck out every time you say something, because that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? But that's you're gonna be wrong. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, this is an Unc quote I'm gonna share with y'all. Unc said, you could fight, but don't die. You could get beat up and scarred up as long as you don't die. So I like that. You gonna come in there and you might even take a L or two, but you gotta keep fighting.
I don't even know what the hell that means.
I liked it, bro. And it was
What does it mean?
he was referring
what was the context of the conversation?
It was a context about when I was actually I was wrong on a point on YouTube, and I was like, dang, I didn't really know how to handle that. I didn't want to hide that I was wrong, but at the same time, like it wasn't really like a point of what we were talking about. And he was like, man, you gotta take that shit in stride, because you're kind of on the battlefield, right? You're gonna get bruised up and get shit wrong at times, but don't, you ain't gotta be Chief X with it. I guess I'll put it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to acknowledge that you might have to change your position, right, in the battle without losing the battle, or you might have to take a punch, or take. But if you stand on where you already been proven as being wrong, if you stand it, then you die on that point. You know what I mean? The moment you recognize that, oh yeah, I fucked that up. All right, yeah, I was wrong about that. You can still move. But if you sit there and argue and stand on that shit, you know what I mean? Like the shit Reggie do, you feel me? This is like, yo, that's clearly, you know what I mean, saying something different. You know what I mean? So, don't die. You know what I mean? Take the L, but don't die.
Brendan said Tina Turner. It was Chris. I think Francis Chris Wilson. It says Francis Chris Wilson. It was he said it was self-defense through pseudo judo. Shouts to you, Brendan. I hate that you're a Penn State fan. That's the only thing I think that with the little I know about you, that that's the only thing I have a distance. Sorry, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. Mujasi's in the chat. He said, how come Chef gonna join the chat when I had to leave? Is it because I'm a black man? Shouts to you, Mujasi. Shouts to you.
No, Mujasi, you know I'm very opinionated, and I didn't want to interject in the middle of y'all dialogue. I felt as though when dialogue is clean, I like for it to be clean. You dig what I'm saying? Without everybody jumping in. And I didn't want to jump in and divert any of y'all points because y'all was having a cogent conversation, right? I could have jumped in and derailed one of your answers or how you was going to respond. You dig what I'm saying? To a specific thing that logic levied at you. So, you know what I mean? A lot of times we'll be trying to make a point, but I'll be trying to make a defense or counter something or respond to something Brad said, but three other people didn't jump in and said something. So I never can deal with what he said properly. You dig what I'm saying? And I think, by everybody staying out the way, y'all was able to flush out each other's arguments pretty good. You dig what I'm saying? It was clean. So I ain't want to fuck that up.
Chef, I want to actually have a pseudo conversation with somebody in 2025 that actually thinks melanin theory is a real thing.
Haskell is the best pseudo out there.
Yeah.
I want Haskell on the team. We need a pseudo that will allow us to exercise our fucking muscles. And Haskell will argue any pseudo point well. That nigga got a talent.
He don't take it that far though, Chef. He got his limits. He ain't crossing that goddamn line.
No, he don't. That nigga has no limit. He the outer limit.
He's saying he the outer limit. Shout out to Outer Limits. That was an amazing show. Shout out to Outer Limits. Most people don't know that show. That's an Outer Limits. That's a good show. But
shout out to Haskell too. I actually like the way Haskell do it, Paul. But Haskell is a good pseudo.
Man, fuck
He's a good,
Haskell.
Yeah,
good
that's
pseudo.
that's the best pseudo out there. If you trying to be pseudo, I'm telling y'all need Haskell on y'all team. Because that
Man.
motherfucker argue any pseudo point. And that nigga, I be like, this nigga got a point.
You,
He throw me off. He throw me off with how much he actually know, dog. This nigga Haskell actually know a lot of shit, though. That's what
he know
throw
a
me
lot
off.
of
Logic.
bullshit
Hey,
too.
Logic Chef, give that good guy some credit too. That good guy, he's pretty good too.
I'm about to
Nah,
Oh, he
yeah,
ain't on Haskell. He ain't on Haskell level.
He ain't on
Yeah.
Haskell level.
Wearing
He
hats,
on
that's like
not
Francis
on
Kurt
level.
Felton and MLK. That good guy is nowhere near the pseudo level of Haskell. If Haskell got Emanese soldiers in his backpack anytime he needed, anybody that'll bring up Emanese soldiers in conversations where it don't even matter, that level of pseudo is
Yeah,
different.
you're
But
right.
shout out to my brother Haskell. I'm just fucking.
Yeah.
No, I like Haskell.
Haskell damn
What
near
about
make you
Haskell
get
got a
a
good
sword
these
just to get him off you.
islanders?
Like,
the enemies islanders. All that, but Haskell's fighting style
Or see hair.
is crazy, bro. Yeah, like he'll start talking about lice and like he'll hit you like in the middle of a conversation on Egypt. I heard him dead say, "Do you know what 2C, 3C, and 4C hair is?" I was like, "What the hell is he talking about?" And then somehow he made it make sense. I was like, "Okay, yeah, I got to stop listening, bro." If he wanted to run like a cult or an indoctrination, he could get it going. He could definitely get some people going. He says Haskell's
So
a high-ranking pseudo. He not the final boss, but he up there. Hutch
you
says
know,
Hutch says he just takes all the alternative positions. That's his
right?
fighting
That's
style.
all. I mean, it's not profound. Like I don't know. Like I mean, maybe I can't tell y'all who y'all see as bright and who not to see as bright, right? But I mean, just naysaying, just saying I don't believe you. Like I don't know how bright that is. Like I ain't never heard him say nothing. I mean, he asked a question like the 4C shit. He got that from Sheffrin. You think
Oh, for real?
you think we know? You think Sheffrin don't know about every detail about hair, bro? Like I never heard of 4C hair until Sheffrin told me what the fuck 4C hair is. Then I realized, oh, I got 4C hair,
Ooh, that's a good
right?
point. That's a good point, Corey.
You know what I'm saying? Like the intelligent niggas that come on here and talk is those niggas that listen to what they say and then they say it and then it seems so somebody else from the outside think they got a point. Like, well, this point and this point, like, bro, you never even knew that till Ngozi said that. You know what I'm saying? Like now you the motherfucker, you never even heard of this shit till Ngozi said it. Now you know all of the points against it. Cause you done halfway YouTube some wild motherfucker that just said half a piece of shit about it. Like that shit ain't profound to me. The 4C hair shit. Just ask Sheffrin. You think Sheffrin can give his kids a test and they don't know what the fuck? He don't know what the fuck 4C hair is, and he giving kids tests and shit. Come on, man. We live in the real world. That's why I put that shout out to Gullah. God damn it. God damn it, Sheffrin living in fucking neighborhood. He got real life customers that come sit down in his barber chair, right? He don't have a virtual customer base. You understand what I'm saying? Like his customer base, he put his hands on them, right? So like that shit ain't impressive to me. The shit Sheffrin do is what's impressive to me, not some shit that somebody can repeat and regurgitate and he the jack of all trades but don't know how to do none of them.
Sheffin got a whole barber textbook with the Egyptians in it. Yeah, so Chef is serious. He bought out the goddamn. That shit was hilarious. He bought out the.
The thing is, it's so easy to get your trick off. That would be upsetting me, right? It's easier to get a trick off than it is to get the absolute truth out. That's one of my sayings.
That's
God
right.
damn it, a liar
Absolutely.
make it halfway around the world before the truth get out of bed and get his pants on. See what I'm saying?
My
Like,
grandmother used to say
it's
that
for
shit.
real.
That shit old as hell, bro. My grandmother used to tell me that shit. She used to say it exactly how you said it before Truth could get out of bed and get his pants on. The lie done made it halfway around the world. She just said it in reverse.
The motherfucking truth, goddamn it, rolling over and
the
still
truth
snoring.
rubbing the truth rubbing sleep out his eye. That lie done been to Australia, China, Hong Kong, everywhere. No, I got you. I like
Exactly.
that.
And Corey been saying that shit. You can add that with 3 card money and motherfucking
That's why I
all
be.
of the
That's why the conversation even. And I love the brother Mujazi because he make you think. Like whatever your argument is, whether you agree with him or not, he gonna make you come. He gonna make you give your best argument. Like you're not gonna give a lackluster argument to Mujazi. I do like that about him. But yeah, like that's another thing. Like the credibility, like the benefit of the doubt, and all this old unearned credibility. No, you know what I'm saying?
listen, y'all listen.
Like the real motherfuckers ain't never got no benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean? You think they gave Neil deGrasse Tyson the benefit of the fucking doubt? Hell no, they ain't do nothing but give them doubt. You know, you got to prove it. You know, you got to come with something that appreciates with value because you can regurgitate some shit that the motherfuckers already said. But really, the reason why you regurgitating the right shit this time is because it lines up with the bullshit you've been trying to push. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's literally impossible. This is what I tell everybody all the time, bro. It's literally impossible. Like literally, like in a literature sense, like in speaking and writing sense, right? And the physical sense. It's literally impossible to tell a whole complete lie. Some of your lie has to have components of truth in it in order for it to be even believable.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So just because, I can point to the part where she was right or told the truth about this, no, the conclusion of why she said it's a lot of shit. This is it goes in politics too. Listen, motherfucker be like, yeah, Corey, um, them right wing motherfuckers kind of agree with you on we shouldn't be giving Israel a bunch of money, right? But they reason for not wanting to give Israel a bunch of money, and my reason for not wanting to give Israel a bunch of money is two
totally different.
different, totally reasons.
Yeah.
Two different, totally reasons. My reason is a humanistic reason. Their reason is an anti-Semitic reason. You see what I'm saying? And when we don't point that bullshit out, when we don't say no, I don't think we can afford it because listen, we need to be putting that money instead of sending $40 million a bomb, right? We need to be putting $40 million per community in these schools, in these school corporations. You see what I'm saying? These school districts and whatever else we need to do to get our kids instead of buying Chinese motherfuckers. That's what we do. We buy, we import bought smart people. You see what I'm saying? While we keep our shit dumb. So we'll just give a Chinese guy a HBCU and then he can do the math for us. Instead of learning our motherfucking kids, right? See what I'm saying? But see, they reason for not wanting to give Israel $40 billion and $1 million per missile, right? Or bomb or whatever the fuck they dropping, right? They reason is because they anti-Semitic. Not only that, they got all these They got all this Christian reason too. Even if they
Yeah, the
wanted to
religion.
give them the money, it's all this old other Christian against Judaism and God gonna come back and all he want to do is just get the Jews all back in Jerusalem. That way God can come and cut all their heads off and all the wild shit. It don't have
Right.
anything to do with the humanist economic part about it. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Like the fact that Francis Cress Welson's didn't like white supremacy, right? Fine. I didn't like white supremacy neither, but that don't mean me and her on the same fucking team. I bet
Right.
she liked chocolate ice cream. I like chocolate ice cream too. Maybe Hitler liked chocolate ice cream. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Maybe Hitler agrees with me that strawberry ice cream is a fool's game. It's foolish, right? Because who would make a strawberry ice cream? That's just dumb as fuck when you can eat chocolate ice cream. Maybe Hitler agrees with me, but I'm not finna sit up here and say, oh, me and Hitler got something in common. You see what I'm saying? It's wild. And I'm just saying, like, bullshit got to be called bullshit. If Frances Cress Wilson is full of shit, then let her be full of shit. We can't say, well, she was a good auntie. She kept her sister's kids when her sister had to work overtime. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck that got to do with anything? Like, this is the type of shit we do and why we end up tricked. This is why, and back to my, I get, because I ran off in the woods a little bit, but I got a can of spray paint, right? My original point is, it makes me upset because it seemed like we the ones go for the trick every time. Well, Haskell's intelligent. Haskell's a good, and now we treating Haskell, a guy that don't believe in dinosaurs. Now he got some type of level of intellect here. Bullshit. Cut that bullshit out. Instead of saying that, we saying how high on the pseudo level he in the top ranking of the pseudos. To me, that's the wild shit that keep us getting tricked. Because now somebody say, well, man, well, when he would start talking, be like, well, man, I think you got the point right there. No, his goddamn conclusion is fucked up beyond all recognitions.
Cook, nigga.
And even the way he
Nah, let
got
him
there,
cook.
he didn't even reason his way there. You understand what y'all got to understand what I'm saying? Because a lot of times I say something and it go right past y'all. Do you understand to talk about his disbelief in the dinosaurs? You got to know that you're finna start trying to reason with this guy, and he did not reason his way to that position. Logic, is you hearing me? Because a lot of times I be wanting to lie because I like Logic because he can actually hear what I'm saying sometimes, and then he can actually ask a lot of good questions behind it when to the next motherfucker, right? But Logic, you gotta understand what I'm saying, Logic. When you look at a motherfucker and you hear what they talking about, and you know they didn't reason their way to that position. Now you have to know that you're not going to reason them out of it. You understand? By definition, their position and attitude about it is unreasonable.
Yeah,
By
gang.
definition, they're
I don't think
unreasonable.
any
And you're
nigga you added to
going
that.
to reason with someone who's unreasonable, who doesn't use reason to arrive at conclusions and positions, right? And decision making. See,
Logic.
when we don't point that out, when we don't point shit like that out, it'll run off, and it's easy to get tricked. Now we say, well, damn, Haskell, I never heard of C4 hair, right? Some of us wasn't on the panel when Chevron gave us the different grades of hair, and some of us don't know Chevron that well, and to know like all and learn all of the shit that he done gave us, right? A lot of the shit I say I learned from Chef. The shit that y'all give me credit for, Chevron gave me that. The Bida Benin, Bida Biafra, yeah, Chevron gave me that. I didn't know what it was called. I kept asking, what the fuck is that region called? And this, I'm trying to tell him, I'm trying to explain myself. Chevron said, Corey, you talking about, it's either sometime they call it the Bida Benin and sometime they call it the Bida Biafra. That's what you talking about. Oh, I know now I know what the fuck I'm talking about. See, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm the nigga. You know, now I'm the nigga know what the fuck I'm talking about. No, I don't know what the fuck I got that from Chevron, bro. Hey,
Sometimes when
it's
a nigga
just
just get to cooking, bro, you gotta get out the way. Whatever
You
you
gotta let
cooking,
him cook.
I can smell that motherfucker all the way over here, dog. You doing
so
your thing.
logic. I hope so, logic, man. We
Let
go
that
for
nigga
the
cook.
trick. We go for the trick every time. We gotta quit that. Now Francis Cress Wilson is reasonable. And we want to say, well, I can take the bits and pieces that was reasonable from no. Why is we ciphering through? Why is, you know how much work it is to ciphering through? When we can just say, no, listen, this bitch had an education. This bitch was educated. First of all, we don't need to get in her brain. We don't need to know what she was thinking. None of it. We don't even gotta do none all of her intentions and all this all wild ass psychological shit. Fuck it. We don't need to know. Let's say she had all good intentions. I tell you what my granddaddy told me about good intentions, right? That's what the road to hell is paved with. Good intentions. What good intentions is, I meant well. Anytime what a good intention is, meaning I meant well. What that means when you meant well? What that mean to me and what that mean to my granddaddy? When you tell him you meant well, that means at this point in the conversation you done already fucked up. Now you meant well, but now right now you're in a fucked up position. You see what I'm saying? I know that you wanted to have happen, but what the reality is you done fucked up, right? The dream was for you to had done well. You had imagined in your head, if I do this, this is the right thing to do. But no, granddaddy say, no, motherfucker. You thought it, you imagined it, but that ain't what's really happening right here. In reality, you done fucked up. So what he says is the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Get me off that motherfucking road, right? So I don't need to go down the road with whether Francis Cress Welson's intentions was good or not. Because driving down that good intention road is going to lead you to fucking hell, right? But what we can do here, we can look at Francis Cress Wilson and we can say, well, damn, you had all this education, young lady, right? You had you was assistant in pediatrics. Shit, black folk need. You see what I'm saying? Especially back in her days, where all them white kids was getting the right diet. They was on time with their shots, right? The white babies, they was coming in getting a whale child every other month or whatever, however often you need a whale child, right? And she telling them how, what percentile those kids are in, right? Well, your kids are in the 50th percentile, so obviously, whatever you're feeding them You can continue on feeding them. They eating good. They in the 50th percentile. You see what I'm saying? That's what she did for the white kid. But then when she came to the black community, she gave us a bunch of bullshit that if we espouse in our everyday lives, that we wouldn't be advancing ourselves. We'd miss out on opportunities if we espouse that bullshit that she was giving us in your everyday life. You see what I'm saying? You talking about how white folks is fucked up because of their white skin and then lack of melanin in the break room at work, right? That shit'll get you fucking fired. All this old wild shit she talk about, if you talked about that in your public, in your personal life, out in public, in your day-to-day goings on, if you espouse that bullshit, it's gonna fuck up all the opportunities you got coming to you. But we want to figure out what part of that she got right. No, she ain't got none of that right. I tell you what she did get right is all the shit that she didn't bring to the black community. That's what she got right. When she was in that pediatric office telling them white parents what percentile their child was in, so they can either change the diet or keep the diet going. You see what I'm saying? When she was giving them the yellow fever and the whooping cough and all of these different vaccinations that the kids go get, the booster shots, so they can go to the 6th grade. Y'all remember when y'all was on y'all way to the 6th grade, you had to go get, and some of you was in the 5th grade, so you had to go get a booster shot. Probably one of your last shots you ever got as a child. You know what I mean? She giving them shots out. She telling the little girl, the little preteens, the little white girl preteens about their minstrels and all of that, educating them. You know, that's what a pediatrician do, especially the assistants. Especially because I think she was like an assistant pediatrician, right? See, the actual pediatrician gonna come in when there's something wrong with the baby, but on the well childs and shit like that, on the day-to-days well childs and all that, like that would have been her. She would have been giving all of the education. See, that's what well childs and when you go right now, as a grown man, when I go to the doctor for my well man checkup, the 80% of my well man checkup is education. My doctor telling me, educating me on the things that I need to start doing, or the things that I need to stop doing, or the things that I need to do more of. You see what I'm saying? 80% of it is them educating me. So when Frances Cress Wilson is doing her well childs with these kids, she giving them good education, good dietary information. All the rest of you talk to your pediatrician about the peer pressure at school and all what's going on, your changes in your body. The little girls are starting to develop breasts and stuff like this. She giving them all the good shit, the good shit that appreciate with value, the shit that the girls use as they go into womanhood. You understand what I'm saying? When I say something that appreciates with value, meaning you take it and then as you appreciate it, it gains value from the appreciation. You see what I'm saying? Not appreciation like, oh, thanks. Appreciation in the fact that I can use this in the future as I grow into womanhood. As these young ladies grow into womanhood, they took the things that Frances Cress Welsing told them in the pediatrics office about how they gonna be awkward and they're gonna feel this way and feel that way and all of these different things that pediatricians do. See, she didn't bring that to the black community. That's what I'm saying. Fuck what her intentions was. I told you we already had a discussion about the intentions. I just want to tell y'all she didn't bring the good shit to the black community. So why in the fuck we trying to decipher what was good? Because none of the shit she brought to us was good. But go ahead, y'all. I'm done. Y'all go ahead. Y'all don't listen to me rant on for too long.
No, I got
And that's why we be in trouble.
you. Yeah. But like the great John Lewis said, good trouble. Good trouble. This is good trouble because it's scrutiny. It's scrutiny
What do you?
with, huh?
Well, I was gonna say, what the chef mean by that? Because I noticed the comment that he put in the chat where he was saying, once we start reading her mind, we're just as pseudo as she is.
That's not her. That's me.
Oh, that's okay.
That's not Chef. That's me. It's going live on
What
both.
do you mean by that? What do you mean by
Because they
that?
said we need to start trying to figure out the reasoning behind what she was doing.
Okay.
And in my opinion, I don't look at. I try to stay away from that while everybody else runs to that, because once you start getting into, unless a person stated why they did it, I don't like to put my 2025 brain to say, well, this is why she came up with the melanin theory. It was a response to racism and a response to this and a response to that.
Right.
When I
Man,
don't know,
right.
when I don't know that, it could have very simply been, and I'm not saying that because from my point of view, based on when she released the papers, people mistakenly call Isis Papers a book. It's just a collection of her writings. She just released it in 1991. I think Sosa said that. And when you look at it at face value, my 2025 brain says she was scamming. Because in 30 years, knowing that it was still false, she put her collections of writings up for sale. And she had to have known it was going to cater to the black community. So she was just putting up
I got
her,
a question about
her
that.
thoughts and her opinions. Now she's a capitalist like anybody else. She could do what she wants. But that's where I'm hesitant to call her a scammer, because just based off what I know about just capitalism, I don't even know, somebody made her an offer she couldn't refuse. I don't know what situation she was in. I can't say that she wanted to do it or did do it. I don't know. So I'm not doing that. It's just I'm talking to people that are telling me why she's doing what she's doing, but
Yeah.
not one of them last name is Welsing.
And that's the
Everybody
reason why.
telling me why she doing it. I don't know why she
So
put up melanin theory and all of that. I mean, she's not a biologist. She ain't no geneticist. She's a psychiatrist.
right. And so you've already kind of, that would have been like my, I guess that, so already that's what my questions, I thought Chef was the one who asked it, but those would have been my questions to him, like basically what you just laid out, like, how the fuck, why does it even matter? Why are we trying to get into this woman's head?
Yeah, I don't try to
Yeah,
get into
yeah.
why. I don't try to get into anybody's
Let me
mind.
in
That's
this bitch. Let me in this bitch.
I gotta go.
Come on,
Hey,
Sosa,
who's
come
gonna
with it.
who's gonna who's gonna
I
take
ain't
over
got.
what's
I
the name?
got a. I got a few minutes. I ain't got too long. I'm in the middle of some shit.
Brass, I'll be inside in like 30
I'll
minutes,
be
man.
free about.
Well,
I'll be really free
Okay.
about 4 something,
What's
4 5.
going
I
on,
got.
bro?
You know what I mean?
Okay, what's going
Yeah,
on,
let me
sir?
up in this bitch. I caught the tail end of Corey rant
That
about
was
the
a good
good
one.
shit. All giving all the good shit, right? So she was in position for 25 years, right? She was doing, so she was all that good shit that she was doing. Was she had a like she would do that to only white people? She was doing that that was a black community. I think it was in DC, right? I think where she was at was segregated, so she dealt a lot of with like black children, right? And she worked at like 2 different schools for like troubled kids emotional, got the emotional shit. So she did that shit, right? And put that value with Corey talking about. She did that for black kids for 25 years. And as a psychiatrist. So you can't say she didn't do that. And she wrote a book. The book for grown folk, that ain't for kids. It's for grown folks. Like those of which I would think if you can read Noah's Ark and think and understand that maybe Noah didn't build the ark, maybe you can think that melanin ain't gonna give you no type of paranormal ability. Maybe I'm putting too much pressure on my people. I don't wanna be I don't want to jump the gun. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I think too highly of African of my people. You know what I'm saying? But you can't so you gotta add in her 25 years of what Cora just described as quality work with black families and black children. She did it for 25 years as a physician and a psychiatrist, 2 different schools. You gotta give her that, bro.
Okay.
My
Can I say something to that?
Was he
my
done?
problem with her.
Was he done? Hold on. Was he done? Yeah, was he done? Let him
go.
finish.
Let him get it. Get it. Go ahead, Lonzo. Let's go.
I heard Social
Damn,
take a
y'all
breath
niggas
while
like
he
sharks
he
with
say
blood. Y'all niggas is like sharks with
Hey,
blood. God
hey,
damn.
man, I was like,
He said that this nigga social took one breath in 3 minutes. The nigga was like, let me get in
that
there.
I
Let
heard
me
that nigga
get
sip
in
some
there.
air. He said, let me get up, man. You sip no air.
Boy, this community,
What's
boy,
up?
y'all got a crazy fighting style. Motherfucker gotta breathe to
That's my guy.
survive. You just cut him smooth off. Go ahead.
The Sosa's my guy. That's my guy. I ain't messing with that. But what I'm
Go ahead,
saying,
Sosa.
Hey,
Go
don't
ahead.
forget Stupid's.
but
Don't forget
what I'm
Stupid's
saying
trying to get in there
is,
too. Right after you.
yeah, I'm gonna be quick. I think what you're saying has some merit. I don't think I'm quite as far off the spectrum as Corey is. I think he'd be like far right wing in this particular argument. I'm not that far over there. But I think that you get to a place where you got to throw in these political implications, and you got to throw in her credentials, right? Of why we're treating her the way we're treating her. So, like at some point in time, we can't almost blind ourselves to some of that stuff that she did would have had to been deemed unethical, even at the time, right? Like so even though you might have to embrace, while attempting to embrace some of the good, right? You gotta at least be honest about some of the crazy stuff in there too, right? See, like if you got a problem with saying what she's doing is unethical, like how do at that point you're just trying to see it the way you want to see it, and you're not accepting all the facts around the scenario, right? Like you would be doing what other people accusing us by us doing, not including all the facts and all the racism, and you know what I'm saying. So that's a part of like when does what she do become unethical, even to us? I think that's a fair question.
Go ahead, Stupid's.
All right. My thing is this, right? Let's be honest. We as black people tend to stick together when we are birds of a feather. Like thinking black people stick to like thinking black people. I was see it in all the groups in the pseudo communities, a prime example of that. Some pseudos stick together closer than to other pseudos. So maybe she was in an echo chamber because it's hard for me to understand. This is not a layman off the street, right? This is not a brother Reggie. She actually has credential in biology. But when you stick to your clique, when somebody name drop all the doctors who review what they're saying and still say something pseudo, is it she alone to blame, or she was in an echo chamber and her arguments was being reinforced by other pseudos? Because nobody ever said to her, say, Doc, that don't sound right, That don't in keeping with what we learn in medical school, That's not in keeping with present papers, But she came out in 1981, which is modern time, when findings were being brought up on genetics and all of that, and still come out with that. So maybe she was in an echo chamber, and her argument was reinforced by her peers. We see it today. As Cora would say it, you have some people who graduate with a master's in psychology, right? Maybe she was in an echo chamber. Everybody was sucking her dick. I said, yes, Dr. Chris Winston, you are so right. You are brilliant. That is a theory. Why didn't I think of that? I should just run with it. Are we going to throw away because of that? Or are we going to just separate the good from the bad and say, she have our weakness? Or we're going to say, listen, everything is either fiction or non-fiction. And she's in the fiction. She's there with Polite. She's there with Dr. Ben. She's there with all of the suitors we know. Is that what we're saying? I'm just asking. I'm not making a point. I'm just
Nah, because
asking.
she don't got 25 years experience as a physician. Like that matters. Like you to do it for 25 years, you had to been good. They ain't fire you. We don't got no smut on her name at her facility. She worked there for 25 years and psychiatry. So you can't quantify how many people she helped, how many families she helped. So she got a solid record of putting in work in the community. So you gotta give her that. At the end
But
of the
what we
year,
also go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
said at the end of the year, at the end of her time, at age like 56, 57, she drops the ISIS paper. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, but that's also it's a book for grown folks. Feel me? Like you feel me? So shit, like some of the responsibility got to go on some of the older folks that pick up the book. Like I mean, goddamn, like shit. I don't.
When we keep bringing up her
It is.
25 years, when we keep bringing up the 25 years, and that's a good argument. But what if she was passing off this bullshit for 25 years too to them same
So what's
people
up?
that she was trying to help?
So what's up?
No,
So what's up?
I'm asking. No, I'm just asking.
Hey, so that's cold
What
that you
what if
let me
she
go
had?
on like that, and then you come with
Gotta
the
come.
because
Gotta come in the.
nobody said she was
I told her I
doing
caught the
only
tail
black,
end. I caught the
right?
tail end.
No,
I told
well,
her,
listen,
yeah.
nobody told me because I'm not a friend. I don't follow Frances Cresswell, right? I
Yeah.
I never followed her, but the thing is, like, throughout the 3 days, right? Today is the first day we say, oh, well, when she was in her job, when she was at work, she was only dealing with all black kids.
Mostly because it was segregated. Like she came up doing segregation. I think when she worked at the place was segregated. You know what I mean? Like I think at the time. So she came out and then
Yeah,
after time the school became
segregation.
less.
Where she was in when she was in. No, this was in the 70s, right?
I think she was like I think this was like in the 60s.
No,
It
Oh,
was like in the
this was
60s.
in the 70s. This is the 70s.
Position for
He said she
25
worked
years.
in. He said she
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 worked
did
was
it
in.
for
at a medical
25.
He
facility.
said she worked in
She,
Washington D.C., a majority black city, especially in the 1970s and 90s. So she started in the 60s, probably the late 60s
The
and
yeah.
70s.
majority black
It was
It was
city.
a
saying,
majority was
That don't
70s and
mean,
90s.
man, cut that
majority
out,
black
man.
city. She in DC.
Y'all not doing this to
She's in
y'all.
DC, but I think the hospital she was at started off segregated and then eventually relaxed. And then, you know what I mean? Then it changed. Because I understand she's born in
In,
35.
in the 70s,
So
though.
let's just say 35. And let's say she's 30. Let's put 30 years on age 35. I put her 1965. That's 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Add 25 to that 30. That's 55. You see what I'm saying? So that's 25 years. She dropped the ISIS paper at 56. So you know what I mean? So
Like,
But the
so
ISIS papers
in
wasn't
your
new
50s,
work.
like
She
you
had been
got
saying
all
that
your
the whole
symptoms,
time.
right?
And she
no,
wasn't a
the ISIS
pediatrician.
paper.
I don't know who said that.
I said physician. I don't know
No,
what communication
y'all
person.
said that pediatrician. She wasn't a pediatrician.
No, I said physician.
No,
No,
Corey said pediatrician.
somebody
She wasn't
said
a
she
Oh,
was a
pediatrician.
pediatrician. Somebody
oh,
No,
told
she
me
was
she
a
was a pediatrician.
psychiatrist. She worked with
and
kids.
the
She never
physician.
worked.
And the
She
physician.
never trained or were. I'm not telling you what you saying is wrong. I'm saying Corey. I'm telling you she's not a
I
pediatrician.
don't like your tone. I don't like your
I
tone.
don't like your rhetoric that you came in here with
I
this
think they said she was
25
an
years. You
assistant
think
or
you
I'm
cleaned us
hyped
up
up.
with that
I'm
25
off the
years.
top rope on you, Nick. I'm off the top rope. I got to jump off the top rope.
Yeah,
Elbow, nigga.
the 25 years. The 25 years of service makes sense if she wasn't spreading this pseudo bullshit in them same 25 years to them same patients. See how that
Nah,
works?
but those, but those 18 years was we ain't got no source for that, bruh. So you
No,
can't
we
do
don't have
that.
no source that she didn't. You can't prove
That's
it
not
now.
how.
Like you can't tell me that
Can't,
you cannot tell me that she was not saying this bullshit to regular patients. She was a psychiatrist, so she could pretty much say whatever the hell she wanted to. She was diagnosing children and their welfare and families.
I think
So who
children.
knows what she was saying? She probably had a young Umar Johnson as a child and was talking this bullshit to him. And then look at what we got now.
Now the ISIS papers, essays she wrote, just essays she wrote. We
No, I
don't
ain't
know.
talking
I
about
don't
the
got no
essays.
info. Yeah, I don't got no information on what she said, but I said she held her job for 25 years. You know what I mean? So apparently they didn't find her too. You know what I'm saying? After losing her position at Howard, I don't think she made. You know what I mean? I don't know if she went that way. You know what I mean? She made a change and not been as public. You know what I'm saying? But I
Right.
can't say for sure.
Yeah, you see
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Hey,
Right.
but I'm listening though. I'm in the
Yeah,
middle of some shit. I'm
you
listening.
see it?
Come on, man. Stop texting me.
So
But yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I
Y'all go.
texted you something that I
Nobody
can't
would have
like
known if you didn't say nothing.
stop and read it at the moment, but I actually just looked up in ChatGPT where it says that a lot of the stuff that she said was unethical even at the time, right? So like we would have to be making an excuse for a professional being unethical with their information, irresponsible with their information, and racist with their information. We have to be making excuses for all of that shit. That's a lot. Like if that's the case, like damn, what's not on the table? Like we should be susceptible. Like everything goes at that point. Like if you won't throw out all them standards, what is like left?
Yeah, she was doing it's not she was I don't know. I look at it as just something clear once again, and I don't want to stick to her because Stu Pease brought up a good conversation. It was an echo chamber at the time, but she was in an echo chamber of her own creation. But that's why you can't say Frances Cresswell, because I mean this is a lady who she got a medical degree from Howard University. She didn't have to do this. This is not I'm uncomfortable. I could say that she may have spawned a Polite or spawned a Umar Johnson or spawned a Tariq Nasheed or something like that. But I won't say that she was helpless. She had a degree from Howard University. She could have done anything with that. She didn't have to. She didn't have to come up with this madness. So if we're talking about her credit per se, I will say this: Leonard Jeffries ain't innocent in this. He's a racist too. Neely Fuller ain't innocent in this. He's a racist too. John Henry Clark, Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Dr. John Henry Clark's a racist also. Like he's the one that was out here spewing this. Who's the barrier to tell to stop? No, stop. Like, no. There is no white genetic annihilation. There is none of that. He could have said, as easily as he got up there and said, supporting melanin theory, right in the foreword for the Iceman inheritance, he could have said at the time, stop, because there were other scholars at the time that said she was wrong. There were other scholars during that period at different schools. I think Malefe Asante was one of them that was saying, like, stop, like, no, that's not good. That's not going to help us. But yet, Dr. John Henry Clark, oh yeah, hell yeah, melanin theory, color confrontation, pool balls, and all that dumbass stuff. So he's a racist too. I don't know enough about him. We're not getting into the throwaway conversation. I'll leave that to y'all. But I ain't saying throw him away because I don't know enough about him. I don't know what his contributions are. I do know he got up in front of black folk telling them melanin theory was a thing. I know he wrote the foreword in Iceman Inheritance, another racist book, basically reverse racism that white people was born in the cold, so they're cold and distant. That's what makes them savage. And he wrote the foreword to that book for a white man named Mark Bradley, who said he won a Nobel Peace Prize, he didn't win it, who said he was a doctor, he wasn't a doctor, who said he graduated from this thousand school, didn't do none of it. So Dr. John Henry Clark on the front of the book, I'll never forget. I'm about to put Sheffrin on blast. Look up the Iceman Inheritance. Chef
No,
said he read the book and didn't realize that Dr. John Henry Clark wrote the foreword for that book. And guess why he bought the book, Stu Pease? Because on the
why?
front of the Iceman Inheritance, right next to Mark Bradley, it says foreword by Dr. John Henry Clark. See
No,
how
but
that
that's,
works?
you know,
Put them all
no,
on
but that's the
top.
problem with the echo chamber. That's the problem with the echo chamber. That's the problem with it. To defeat the echo chamber, you have to defeat everybody. You have to call everybody to the front of the classroom. You have to probably call John Henry Clark to the front of the classroom and say, what were you thinking when you endorsed this
What
bullshit?
was in your mind?
Yeah,
What's
what
in
was
your
in your mind?
mind? And that's why I'm hesitant, right? See, like, and this is now I gave you the example. Everybody keeps saying why, and it would be you make a good question in the chat. He said, how wasn't this madness in the 80s? It was madness during that time, but she was in the echo chamber, like Stu P said, and other reasons. But then it says, how is this still an outrage 40 years later? Because Dr. Umar Johnson is her nephew spiritually, because he says the same shit. And Tariq Nasheed says the
Her
same
son.
thing. And all these
Her
people are
son,
still
not her
in these
nephew.
same groups. Black people still get these grifters and snake oil salesmen using rhetoric from melanin theory and white genetic. Ask Dr. Umar Johnson about white genetic annihilation. Look it up yourself. He says the same thing, and he's been grifting the black community based on that nonsense. How many times have people in the conscious community quoted John Henry Clark? Did they ever tell you he wrote the foreword to Iceman Inheritance? See how that works? See how if you don't take a hard stance in the 70s and 80s when she's putting this stuff out, see how it can affect people in 2025? Because if it didn't, see, here's the thing. Y'all put Kemet on trial. How was that effective today? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm putting stuff on trial that still I can see the effects today. How much money does Tariq Nasheed collect with FBA? How much money has Dr. Umar Johnson, based on white genetic annihilation and running around doing lectures, spouting the same madness? What school, where's the school at? Matter of fact, the other day, somebody sent me a video that says that he's broke somehow. He's been grifting for 10, 15, 20 years and then got on Instagram and he's broke. And we ain't seen no schools. Matter of fact, shouts to Marcus, the pseudo killers. He's actually out there where one of them schools was being built. We was on a show live. I forgot the show. Shout to them. He was on a show live, got out of his car, put his camera phone up, was on a panel and showed us what people was investing for as a school in Philadelphia. Me, all of us together today could do a GoFundMe and do more work than what he did for that school. Today, we could start at 8 o'clock, pull up enough funds to do the same amount of work on a building in the hood and call it a school. So when I say it's still here 40 years, bro, Francis Cress Wilson, melanin theory and all that stuff's still gonna be here. It's still gonna be here in 2160. If somebody don't say, she needs to be known as madness. She needs to be known as a pseudo, like a racist, not as a valuable contribution to the Afro. Like, what are y'all even talking about? But who am I, right? That's just my opinion. I wish other people would be giving their opinion. Y'all could join the Discord. Y'all can get in here, like and subscribe to shows, whatever. You're just listening to our private conversations. These ain't even shows. We would be having this conversation if the Discord wasn't connected to YouTube right now. These are our private opinions. We're just allowing you. We're giving you the privilege of hearing what we talk about behind closed doors. This is what your parents used to talk about when they closed the doors and you was trying to figure out. Right? This is when you go to Thanksgiving and there's a kiddie table somewhere off in the corner in the basement when everybody upstairs laughing and ha ha ha. These is adult conversations. You just get to sit here and eat your turkey and stuff right now. But get in the Discord if you want to participate. And if we're so wrong on our opinions, which it's a little crazy. But if we're so wrong, join the Discord, get into the conversation, and then supposit what your opinion is. But I'm telling you now, and I'm gonna land my plane. If Francis Cress Wilson, John Henry Clark, Leonard Jeffries, Diop, Dr. Ben, if these people fall under one of these categories for you, I'm not talking to you. If these are your master teachers, your babas, your sabers, and they shaped your worldview fully, nothing I say is gonna reach you. So I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. Go do a show on how great she is. Make sure you bring up Melanin Theory, though. When you do a show telling me how great Dr. John Henry Clark is, read the foreword from Iceman Inheritance, another racist book. Let's talk about how Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Neely Fuller are basically the reason why Francis Cress Wilson put forth the Melanin Theory. I'll land my plane. But y'all can have it, bro.
Yeah,
I gotta
you make some really good points, and I'm almost where I'm going, so I can I get in there and make me an account and stuff. But this is it's telling in a strange way, right? It's like it's a glaring blind spot where most people have they have a contradiction between their affinity for blackness and black people, and how do you go about constructing something that benefits them. So we're under the impression that there already is something constructed to benefit that. So it sounds like we're challenging that particular thing, but we're talking to people who don't properly evaluate how effective it actually is, right? So in the short version of another thing that I'm trying to say is you can't effectively be disgusted by racism and then think of it as a tool that you can use to destroy racism, and for a couple different reasons. One now you've promoted unethical practices in the way of making excuses for racism, and for two, now you've basically gone against what your paradigm is to destroy racism, because you keep it alive by using it. Right, so you've already created a conundrum in your own worldview and whatever solution you're trying to be. Like you've actually already messed it up before you even got it off the ground. So I think the conversation is really necessary. I think some of that, if people do experience some trauma having to deal with some of these uncomfortable truths, I really feel like they need to, because the only thing that'll make you uncomfortable is that you actually care. Right, but I think that the thing that probably prevents you from seeing the blind spot is that you haven't taken a step back and evaluated how effective it is. Right, and I think that's a problem, right? Because that says that a lot of the stuff that people be following, they don't really know why. Like, because it's black, like you're saying that, but you really don't believe it, because you can look at other black people like Thomas Sowell and not follow them, right? It's not just because they're black. So there's something in what they're saying that you relate to. So we kind of trying to figure out, like, how do you at least identify that? Of course, make people honest about it, and speak on it for what it actually is, because it seems to be more destructive than it does productive. That seems to be obvious, at least to me. Maybe not the most, but definitely to me.
Hey, peace to y'all. Y'all got anything the brothers want to say before we go? Peace to y'all. Y'all can stay in the Discord, but this public show is over. Join the Discord. The link is in the chat. Hit that link, join the Discord. Discord is just like where a group of us, you're able to share, text each other, message each other, but then they have a voice chat feature where we can have these conversations. What you're seeing is our Discord. These are private conversations, like I say, that we just decided to make live so y'all can hear some of it. Because some of us have shows and channels, and this is also a little bit easier on our own personal lives, but I got to get out into the world and get to these sites and see what's going on. Talk to y'all later, man. Appreciate y'all for coming out.
Peace, Fresh.